In this video, I'm going to tell you my picks for the top 5 guitarists.
This video is sponsored by DistroKid. DistroKid is the easiest way for musicians to get music into Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, Tidal, TikTok, YouTube, and more. You can upload as much music as you want and keep 100% of your earnings. Also, DistroKid is the only service that lets you upload unlimited music to stores for one low price. Other services make you pay every time you upload something. As a bonus for anyone watching this video, they've set up a personalized link that you can use to save 7% off your first year's membership. To get your 7% discount, go to distrokid.com/VIP/moveforwardguitar or click the link in the description below.
First off, this isn't a video about who I think the best guitarists of all time are. I think that's a pointless conversation to have. I don't think you can rate guitarists or musicians in that way. And anytime I see a list of something like the 50 greatest guitarists of all times, I think that's a pointless list to have. So this video is really about who are the top guitarists to me personally. And that's based on who I've connected with the most over the years, their music, their playing style, and who has influenced me the most over the years, especially early on in my development as a guitarist, either when I was first learning or when I was learning new things or new skills. And since these are just my top 5 guitarists, in the comments below, leave a list of your top 5 guitarists. So I'm sure half of you love this choice and half of you think I'm a moron for including John Mayer. And John Mayer is kind of one of those love him or hate him type players. And to be honest, I almost didn't include him because I kind of have love-hate feelings for him. But ultimately I had to include him because he was such a huge influence on my playing, especially as I was developing early on. Now first off, even though I don't like a lot of his new music, pretty much any of his new music that I've heard in the last 10 plus years, I'll always argue with someone who says he's not a great player because in my opinion he definitely is. He has great time, he has great feel, he has great tone. He used to be, in my opinion, an excellent songwriter, and he's able to do it on the acoustic guitar, he's able to do it on the electric guitar, and he really does have his own sound, even though a lot of people will argue against that. But either way, that's not really the point of this video, to argue for him or against him. I'm including him because he's been a huge influence in my playing over the years. I still think he's an excellent player, even though, like I said, I haven't really listened to any of his new music, pretty much anything past Continuum. But in my early years of playing guitar, especially when I was an acoustic player, I listened to his stuff non-stop. He had an EP before he was famous called Inside Wants Out, which is mostly acoustic, that I just listened to non-stop. And then he had a live album / DVD called Any Given Thursday that I listened to and watched that DVD over and over again. And then I loved all the stuff he did with the John Mayer Trio, and I really love the album Continuum and still think it's a great album. And even though I'm not into pretty much any of his newer stuff, I respect the fact that he's still influencing a lot of new players coming up. All you have to do is search on Instagram and listen to them play Slow Dancing in a Burning Room or other of his songs to know how far his influence has really reached over the last couple decades. Now you may not know a lot about Dave Matthews, or you may just know him from his popular songs that were on the radio years ago. And a lot of people definitely don't think of him when they're thinking of a guitar hero, but to me he definitely is, and I think he's an amazing player who had a really unique voice on the guitar with really unique rhythms and a sound all his own that anyone who copies him just sounds like a copy of Dave Matthews. And not only that, he was able to do it and is able to do it playing these complicated rhythms and parts while singing over the top of it with what I consider to be great melodies in great songs. And just like John Mayer, Dave Matthews was a huge influence to me early on, especially when I was only an acoustic player. He heavily influenced my rhythm techniques and my percussiveness when I play. And even though I don't listen to him that much anymore, he still has been a huge part of my development as a guitarist. Now, I almost hesitate to include Frank Zappa on this list, and it's not because he wasn't a great guitarist, because he definitely was. The reason I hesitate is because Frank Zappa was just so much more than just a guitarist. He was truly a composer, and a lot of his music doesn't even really have guitar in it or isn't heavily reliant on the guitar. But I had to include him because he's been a huge influence in the last 5 or so years, and like I said, his guitar playing is amazing and was really unique to him, just like all of his music was unique. And Frank Zappa is one of those guys that there will never be another one like him ever. And really, it took me a long time to get into him, even though I would try to listen to his music because I always heard his name, always knew who he was. But every time I tried, it was just, his music was a little strange to me, or it had humor in it, which I wasn't really into. So I would listen a little bit, but then not really get it. But eventually I came across the album Shut Up and Play Your Guitar, which is one of his few just guitar albums, just instrumental guitar albums. And I was just totally blown away. And ever since then, I've been heavily into all of his music. That was kind of the gateway into the rest of his music. And really hearing that album made me realize how there are some more modern players that I thought were more original than they actually were. And I came to realize that they were actually heavily influenced by Frank Zappa. And I just didn't have that reference point before. But if you want to hear his guitar playing and have an introduction to what he did on the guitar and in his music, I'd recommend checking out Shut Up and Play Your Guitar. And even though Frank Zappa is someone I came to in more recent years, like the last 5 years, he's been someone I've listened to probably more than anyone else in the last 5 years, so I had to include him. And even though he wasn't a huge influence in a lot of my early guitar playing, listening to him that much obviously will come out in what I do now. So I thought it was important to include him. And really, I love him so much that my wife and I named our dog after him. As a guitarist, it's cliche to include Stevie Ray Vaughan as one of your top guitarists, but there's a reason so many love him. He was a true original. Just like Frank Zappa, there'll never be another one like him. And even though his music was, Stevie Ray Vaughan's music was more based in just pure blues or blues rock, Texas blues, and you could really hear his influences, he still was, like I said, a true original, and no one can play like him even now. And he added something to that genre that has pretty much changed guitar playing ever since. And I could go on and on about him, but I'm sure most of you already know a lot about him, and if you don't, you should definitely go check him out, because you're missing out if you're a guitarist and you don't at least know about Stevie Ray Vaughan's music or give it a chance. It may not be your cup of tea, it may not be the style you're into, but he's pretty much influenced the majority of guitarists that have come after him. So I think it's important to at least have that reference if you're a guitarist. Before I reveal my last pick, here's a list of honorable mentions that are guitarists that I love that I just didn't have time to include. Again, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix is totally cliche to love as a guitarist. He's many guitarists' favorite guitarist, and I would definitely put him as probably my favorite guitarist of all time. But again, just like Stevie Ray Vaughan, there's a reason that so many people love Jimi Hendrix. And again, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, he was a true original, and really Stevie Ray Vaughan was super influenced by Jimi Hendrix, so there wouldn't be the Stevie Ray Vaughan that we know without Jimi Hendrix. And again, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, everyone who came after Jimi Hendrix who plays guitar has been influenced by him in some way, whether you listen to him or not, because even if you don't listen to him, other guitarists or musicians that you listen to were influenced by him. So there's really no escaping it. And again, just like Stevie Ray Vaughan, I could go on and on about him, but again, there's so much information out there about him, and you probably already know and love him, or at least know about him, and you can check him out more on your own if you want. So those are my picks for my top 5 guitarists. Like I said, in the comments below, leave a list of your top 5 guitarists. So thanks for watching, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and keep moving forward.